When you direct Baby Yoda, it's like directing an actor. Sometimes I'll talk to the puppeteers, but if they're not there, I'm like, okay, I want you to, I want you to go over there,
Grogu?
look there. Yeah, you talk to them and they get it. We've been doing this for years. So this is like improvisational jazz musicians working together, because it's all of them working together to make one performance come through.
It's time. Are you scared? You should be.
We're so excited for the Mandalorian and Grogu. I want to talk about the Hutts specifically.
Okay.
What were you most excited about when it came to bringing them to life in live action?
Since I was young, when Jabba the Hutt was first on screen, it was such a weird, odd character. And then the idea of having other Hutts, we were fortunate enough to have the time to actually create CG versions of them so we could have them do more things than Jabba did. Jabba was I think had 3 people or 4 people puppeting him way back in the 80s when that film was made. We were able to expand upon that and also find out more about where they're from and what they're all about, because there's always a sense of mystery and there's a sinister edge to them, and I think people are curious about them. We were able to draw upon aspects of the Hutts from other media like animation, graphic novels, and so we were able to pull a lot of that in.
And, Star Wars has always had such an incredible mix of visual and practical effects. So was there anyone, set, creature, prop in particular, that you were most excited or interested in bringing to the real world?
It was exciting to be able to build really big practical sets. We knew that we were going to have an IMAX release and partnered with them really early.
Okay.
We didn't have the time on the show because we had to turn it around in a matter of months. And now making a movie with a brand new adventure, inviting a new audience in, we figured that making it native to the tall aspect ratio that the movie theater affords, that your television doesn't, gave us the opportunity to bring in all the craftspeople and build sets, pits, water tanks, filming underwater, filming on locations. We didn't have this luxury in the past, so that was a real treat for us.
What proved most challenging, even with all the treats of it and how exciting I would imagine it was to dive into that world? What were you like, oh my gosh, this is really giving us a run for our money right here?
Well, doing a film of this size, there's a lot of logistical challenges. Fortunately, we've been working with a lot of the same people that we've been working with for 8 years on the show. A lot of the actors are the same. Usually when you start a movie, you're starting from scratch. But here we had people we've worked with before. We had characters we'd known before, whether it was puppeteers, suit performers, stunt personnel. All of that was there, and we were able to bring all of that together and do something more ambitious than what we'd ever been able to accomplish in the past.
And directing Martin Scorsese in a Star Wars movie, what was that like for you?
Martin Scorsese is, I've grew up watching his films. I was lucky enough to be in The Wolf of Wall Street, so I gotten to know him through that. We've done Q&As together at festivals, but the idea of animating a character that's based on his voice, a species called the Ardinians, which is what I played in Solo. So I was a cook in the Solo movie. He has a food truck in this one. I gave our characters the same last names, so our characters are related in theory. We had the character planned. Kathy Kennedy reached out, hoping maybe he'd want to do it. He said yes. We went back and forth. He did a lot of improv. He was just a lot of fun. It's interesting because, when the director's on their set, they're running the show, but I find when directors are on other people's sets, they just want to play and have fun, and he had a great time. It was a once-in-a-lifetime thing for me.
That's so interesting. And you're telling me, so he's a great improviser.
Oh, he's great. He's hilarious. And the type of character, we gave him room to do his thing. It really plays into his performance style, and the animators and the creature designers really leaned into it. So it's one of the highlights of the film for me.
Oh, that's so awesome to hear.
Yeah.
The AT-AT is back. I guess there's a debate between AT-AT versus AT-AT.
Yes,
Where do you
right.
stand on this?
I go either way, AT-AT, AT-AT. I tend to say AT-AT, but with the military, you tend to pronounce the words in the terrestrial world. But with Star Wars fans, there's definitely a division between who says what. I think both are okay.
Okay, I was going to say, you plant your flag. That's what I'm going with.
I grew up saying AT-AT.
We're doing AT-AT.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Got it.
But both are acceptable answers.
Fair. What other Star Wars staples that have proven iconic are we going to be treated to with this one?
Well, a lot of it is what's, the aesthetic of the sets and what was built. And we have Doug Chang doing the artwork. And so that's in continuity from working with George for decades. And Dave Filoni also having worked with George and John Knoll. But there's also techniques that for Star Wars fans that geek out on this kind of thing as I do, being able to have motion control miniatures, to build large miniatures so that we could have up-close work as they did in the old days, or smaller miniatures to have more dynamic movement. And then we reached out to Phil Tippett, who designed a whole action sequence with some giant droids. We got to do a stop-motion shot here or there, but I grew up loving the stop-motion chess set or the Tauntauns. As a kid, the weird Tippett creatures really captured my imagination, and to have him in his studio work on a big sequence for us was a big treat as well.
And we see in the trailer that Mando's ship is making a return.
That's right, the Razor Crest, yeah.
Yeah, what sort of upgrades are we going to get with this go-around?
Though it's the same model, it was it's an old pre-Empire design. The Mandalorian's Razor Crest was kind of beat up, stripped down, kind of hot rodded out, and now this one is a perfectly restored one that he was able to get his hands on. So it's a different one. It's a little shinier. The interior is a little nicer, but of course, like any hot rodder, he's going to make his adjustments and customizations for performance. Yeah.
And we're super excited to see Sigourney Weaver, of course.
Sigourney's
what
great.
a legend.
Yes.
Was there anything in particular that surprised you about what she brought to this film? And not even just as a director, but a fan of her work?
Well, I'm a huge fan. I grew up watching Sigourney. She's synonymous with the genre, not just from Ripley, but even Galaxy Quest. Like, she's iconic all across the genre. And when you have a performer like that as a filmmaker, it's such a gift because you only have 2 hours to tell a story on the big screen. And you're starting from scratch. You can't assume anybody knows anything. When you have an actor of that stature walk on the screen, they bring their history to that character. And all of a sudden, this character has credibility and gravitas. Now, that's aside from her performance and how she looks and what she brings with her choices. The big surprise with her is that she had pretty heavy demands about wanting to be on screen with Grogu. That was the thing. And I said, your character isn't like a softie. She's like, I know, but I still think we need to have a. So we ended up working him into the scenes with her that weren't. No, and she was, and on set, she would be, even when we wouldn't be rolling, she'd just be completely focused. Because Grogu's a puppet, rod puppeted at times, also remote controlled, but there's also all of his facial expressions are controlled by remote control animatronics. So there are like 5 puppeteers, sometimes 4 puppeteers off camera operating him and his face and his eye lines. And so between takes, he's still moving around like he's an actor. Yeah, between takes, they were both clicking on each other a little bit, and the puppeteers would be there performing with her. And it's a fun thing on set when people come and think it's not like a ventriloquist dummy. When the show's over, it just goes down. Baby Yoda's like an actor on the set. Okay,
because that's what I was going to ask you. I'm like, what is Grogu doing between takes? Like, does he get tucked away somewhere?
No,
Where
he's there. They're holding. Sometimes he's there or somebody's holding him in the scene, or he's sitting in a chair. We leave him in the chair.
Okay.
And if the other actor's in the chair too, like any other actor between takes, he's still going.
Okay. Oh,
and so they're a little taken aback by that. But it's like, and by the way, when you direct Baby Yoda, it's like directing an actor. I don't talk to. Sometimes I'll talk to the puppeteers, but if they're not there, I'm like, okay, I want you to go over there, Grogu. Look there. Yeah, you talk to them, and they get it. We've been doing this for years, so. This is like improvisational jazz musicians working together, because it's all of them working together to make one performance come through.
That is so fun to hear. I was hoping that it wasn't going to be, we put Grogu in the warehouse.
No, he's a big part of it. Like he's and his performance, and even it's interesting because for the stuff where he's moving around, he's a rod puppet. So there's actually like a lot of performers that we have to paint out around him. It doesn't matter when he's moving around; you just see him. It's quite fascinating.
When you think about this project specifically, what ripple effect do you anticipate this having on the world of Star Wars?
Well, I hope that this is an opportunity for a new audience to come and engage with Star Wars. It made such an impression on me when I was younger. And I remember the feeling of seeing it in the theater with my dad. And I think even the show, I hear a lot of people will watch, multiple generations will watch together. And I think that's really a gift nowadays, because we're all off on our own with our own algorithms and our own logins, and we're watching our own thing. And you pop on an app, you may have a different home screen than your husband or wife or your kid. So what's fun about the theater experience is that people come together. There are people who are really excited to see something, and then sometimes somebody else will come along because everybody else is going.
Yeah.
You got to make it fun for them. You got to make the movies an experience that is available and enjoyable to everybody. And I still feel like when it's clicking on all cylinders, there's nothing like it. All these new technologies, everything else, to have a full house that are cheering or laughing and watching something together, it's a different energy. And I see it even in the smaller movie houses like the American Cinematheque, the Aero Theater, the Egyptian. Young people will go watch older movies, and they're getting something out of it. I think it's harder to expect people to get that experience if they're just watching it on their phone for the first time. But that's how you fall in love. You fall in love with things like that because you're being introduced to it by people who care so much, and that rubs off on you. And so I hope that this is an opportunity, and this whole year and summer, but whole year, with all these great filmmakers making movies, not just Star Wars, but they're doing great projects. And what I like is that people are starting to go to the theater, and that's making people excited. And it makes the theater owners want to make it a better experience, because the theaters that are doing better are the ones that have the better screens and have the better experiences. And so I'm hoping that this all sort of upcycles into this, into another era where we all want to get together and experience something live, as happens with music now.
Totally.
Music has been about, it's not about albums anymore. It's about shows and performances and festivals. And I think film is starting to catch some of that momentum as well.
And to wrap it up, your favorite Star Wars movie of all time?
My favorite Star Wars movie's got to be the first one. They call it A New Hope now, but it's called Star Wars when I saw it. And I can make arguments that there are others that are qualitatively better or narratively better, but I can't separate my experience of seeing Star Wars for the first time and everything that opened up to me. I wouldn't be here doing this for a living if it wasn't for that. I certainly wouldn't be making a Mandalorian show, but I don't think I would have even chosen this as a field to try to do. But that first film opened my eyes at a young age, and my father would explain to me all the influences and other things that it was drawing upon. And so it opened my eyes to Kurosawa films, to samurai movies, to westerns, to World War II films, and then the work of Joseph Campbell, the monomyth, storytelling. All of that came. I don't think I would have had that curiosity had that first film not lit that fuse. And getting to know George Lucas, which I've been fortunate enough to do, he's very aware of all this stuff. This was all intentional. This wasn't just something that happened. He really was leaning into everything that the Jedi were about, the Force, the production design, the world, the message, the mythology. So I like the first one.